could I, being born of such conventional stock, a rival leader of the rebellion, an escapist from a conformist world destined to find happiness only in that which cannot be explained? My brain is frozen, locked. I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Let's paint a Lord On Juggernaut. Hey, welcome in. I'm just going to be using my Infinity CR Plus with a 0.4 needle. I've base painted the model already with Vallejo black primer. And I'm going to be putting my fast colour on with a nice dark purple. I'm going to be mainly spraying it into the shadows, but I'll also be spraying it on the top as well. And I'll just be doing that as purple shadows under red looks really cool, and red sits on top of purple nicely as well. Okay, I'm just going to be putting my first centerfold coat on, the corn red. Just spraying mainly from above, picking where I want the paint to go, and yeah, leaving enough purple in the shadows. They complement really nicely. Okay, moving up to Mephiston red. It's going to be my next highlight layer. I'm going to be mainly picking out where I believe the light will be hitting the model the most, and also just trying not to cover up the corn red and the purple shadows. And yeah, just taking my time, turning the model, using the 3D aspect of it to my advantage, and also just not working in the same area for too long. Like, lay some paint down, move to a different area, allow it to dry, and then you can go back and double check and add an extra coat if you need it. Moving up to the Evil Sun Scarlet now. Again, just picking the very highest bits and where I believe the light will be catching it the most. Trying my best not to cover up the previous layers. But yeah, just gradually stepping up the saturation. Okay, I'm just going to be using this Vallejo white primer, and I'll just be doing very specific highlights, picking out areas where I believe the light will be hitting the most, and yeah, just areas where I think it will really make the model pop and look cool. And yeah, again, try really hard not to cover up your previous layers and show some restraint. You don't want to undo all the nice layers you've already done. And I'm just going to be putting this barrel red over it, and that'll bring all of the colours together. It's a really nice filter. So yeah, just as you're doing it, just keep checking the model. Don't stay in one area for too long. Let the paint dry, move around, and then work your way back around and see if it needs an extra coat or not. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way it's coming out at the moment. It's really starting to pop and bring the colours together. So yeah, just having a nice double check around, see if it needs any extra and making sure I'm happy. Okay, and I'm just going to be using this on the Juggernaut. I'll be spraying this from the zenithal perspective. I'd just like to add a side note that as we've got the Lord sat on top of the Juggernaut, and they're going to be different colours, so I'll be doing the Juggernaut as a burgundy and the Lord more of a red colour. I've painted all of the layers on the Lord first, so I can avoid needing to mask anything and I can just aim past him. So yeah, when you're doing these next layers on the Juggernaut, just be careful not to undo the work you've done on the Lord. But yeah, it doesn't matter too much if you get some overspray on the parts further down. It will just add to the ambience and give the metallic more of a reflective feel. And yeah, it won't be a disaster. But yeah, definitely don't try and get it on the more top parts of the model where you're actually trying to represent him as red. Okay, moving on to my next layer, the corn red on the Juggernaut. Again, just spraying from a zenithal perspective. Trying not to cover up the previous layers of the shadows. But yeah, just starting to draw in more towards burgundy now and adding some nice layers because I'll be adding a filter over it. And yeah, this is a really nice way just to build up the layers and get it all to pop and look cool. So yeah, just checking the model over and making sure I'm happy. I'm just going to be adding this Emperor's Children into the corn red, just to step up the values. Just going to be giving it a mix of my glass pipette and testing it on the side just to make sure that the paint's thin enough to go through the airbrush. And just working my way around the model, and picking out the areas where I think the light would hit it the most. Again, try your best not to cover up your previous layers, and yeah, just work your way around the model. Don't stay in the same spot for too long and oversaturate it. Make sure you move to a different area, let one area dry and then move back around. But yeah, just a side note, I think this would be pretty cool for Emperor's Children. I'm just going to be using the Vallejo white primer. I like using this primer just because it doesn't speckle or do anything weird through the airbrush or anything that putting white paint through an airbrush is known for. Just going to be doing small spot highlights, and again I'll be adding a filter over the top. So yeah, just use sparingly, don't undo all the work you've done, and yeah, when you put the filter over it'll look really cool. But yeah, definitely looking really cool for Emperor's Children, but I will be bringing it back to a darker burgundy. And I'm just going to be putting this burgundy over it. Sort of a happy accident, accidentally pushed it even more towards Emperor's Children, but still the layers and everything will look really cool, and I'll be able to fix this with a different filter. So yeah, I'm going to be using the Flesh Tears Red, and I'll be using this very careful. I definitely don't want to undo what I've done, but the sort of nice pinky purple layers underneath will really make this look really cool and make it like pop loads. So yeah, it was a nice happy accident using that other burgundy colour. I wasn't expecting it to go as pinky purple, but yeah, the Flesh Tears, spraying it almost less of a zenithal, more of like a mid, so like a straight on angle and a little bit into the shadows but not hitting the purple in the shadows. And yeah, it's actually like the saturation of it's actually really nice. I was really happy with how this came out. And yeah, just taking a moment to look over it and make sure I'm happy. But yeah, the way the burgundy's come out on it, I'm like, yeah, really pleased. It looks really cool. So yeah, always fun and worth experimenting. Just be using this Balthazar Gold just to go over the trim, and I would just be using this on the Juggernaut. But yeah, just going back to the experiment. This time it worked out really good, but a lot of the times the experimentation fails and doesn't look as good. But it's always fun and good even to fail, because you've learned something. And even though it could be a failure, it might be something that'll be really cool for a different model. So with this, I was lucky, I think, because it came out really cool. And on top of that, if I ever do Emperor's Children or Slanesh, I'll probably use that colour combo to do that. So yeah, that was a nice result. But yeah, there's so much trim on this, so just take your time, enjoy the process. It's not a major disaster if you hit the armor panels. Red's actually quite a nice or easier colour, I would say, to undo your mistakes. So yeah, it's a lot more forgiving. But yeah, just take your time and enjoy it. Yeah, give it a look over. There's quite a lot of trim. It's very likely that you've missed a piece. Again, I'm going to be using this one for the Lord. Again, there's lots of armor trim, so just take your time and enjoy the process. And I chose a different trim colour for him, again just to differentiate him from the Juggernaut and make it more obvious that they're two separate pieces. Yeah, give it a look over. Like I said before, there is quite a lot of trim, so it's likely that you've missed a bit. It's not a problem just to go back and put it in, but yeah, just give it a double check. Yeah, just like here. I think I was going to leave it red and then decided the skull would look cooler if it was the same colour as the rest of the trim. And just going over all the silver areas. So we've got his sword, his plasma pistol, and then we've got the parts on the Juggernaut. So just doing his front horn there, and be doing his teeth. And I believe he's got some chains on his backpack. So yeah, just take your time with this step. There's plenty of silver pieces. So yeah, just take your time and enjoy it. And just giving it a look over. make sure I'm happy and see if I've missed anything. I'll just be doing all the black bits with this Black Legion. So it'll be like his wires and some parts on his backpack. Yeah, the handle on his sword. I'll just be going over all the bronze bits with this Agrax Earthshade, just adding some depth back into it. Sometimes I find metallics leave the surface looking a bit too flat, and adding a contrast or a shade over it just helps add some depth back in. If you do the metallics with more like my usual punk punch technique, you can sometimes get away with not needing to do the contrast step, just because you often, whilst doing that technique, you do leave a lot of the recesses shaded. So yeah, it is quite a good technique to use on metallics. It is also a good technique for doing non-metallic metal as well. Yeah, hopefully I'll get a model soon that I'll feel happy to do some non-metallic metal on and show you how I punk punch that. And I'll just be going over all the silver parts with this new oil. Again, just adding some depth back into it. Oh yeah, if you did want to see more about how I do punk punch, if you check out my Jackals video, that's probably the best way I do it. I do it for the skin. And yeah, just to show you how to get a nice realistic skin tone, and also just how to join up the muscle groups so you don't end up with detached segments of muscle. And yeah, I plan to do the Berserkers, so this is all out of the Combat Patrol set. So I've done the 10 Jackals, I've got this Lord On Juggernaut, and yeah, I've got 20 Berserkers to do. I'm just going to be using this ivory on the bone, so he's got like a few skulls on him. I do plan on doing the Lord Invocators as well. I'm just going to be using this colour over all the bronze pieces on the Juggernaut. It's nice to add some sheen back in, so I'll just be like hitting the edges and adding some scratches to it. It's a really cool way to just make your metallics pop again. So once you added the first layer, the Balthazar gold, it looks a bit flat, so you add the depth back in with the contrast. And then yeah, just to help it not be, because sometimes a contrast or a shade can dull it quite a bit. So yeah, it's nice just to go over the raised and textured areas and just get it all popping again. And when you've got big areas of detail like this, it's nice to try and keep the brush as flat as you can. In that way you guarantee you're just hitting the texture and not the surrounding armor panels. But yeah, as it's red, it's no big deal if you accidentally go onto the armor panel. It's easy enough just to cover up with some of the previous layers. Okay, just giving it a check around, make sure I'm happy, see if I need to add any extra. I'm going to be using this one for the Lord. Again, just using different colours for the Lord than on the Juggernaut, just to help differentiate them again. But yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's coming along at the moment. I think it's looking really cool. But yeah, sometimes my decision making is based more off of if something looks cool to whether it's practical or not. So when you end up doing your own model and you think something else would look cooler than what I've done, then yeah, definitely do that instead. Okay, I'm just going to be putting this over the silver pieces, so just adding some texture and sheen back in. So yeah, just getting some scratches. And yeah, just getting everything looking more realistic and popping and looking cool. And just be going over all of the skulls for this contrast. Again, just adding some depth back into them. And just on a side note, you don't have to follow every single step. If you're happy with only doing the first step or the second step, then just do that. The most important thing is that you're having fun. I'm just going to be using these for his plasma pistol, using my 00 Winsor Newton. So I'm just base coating the coils with the darkest blue. And also I'll be getting it slightly outside of the coils as well, just it will help sell the illusion of it glowing. And just stepping up to the next lightest blue now, just touching the edges of the coils in the very lower part of it. I'm not trying to go super bright with it because I think when you go really bright it gives the impression that it's in the dark, but this will probably be a bit more how it would look in the daytime. And then just add in very small bits of white, basically just edge highlighting the actual pistol and just catching some of the coils. And yeah, with each layer you're trying not to cover up, you're just painting inside of each layer. So yeah, looking cool. I'm going to be using these colours for the eyes, so starting with the darkest and working my way up. So similar to how I did the plasma coils, I'm just going to be going over the edge and then slightly outside and around the eye. Again, it'll just help make it look like it's glowing once we add the brighter layers in the middle. Here's the next brightest green. Just doing the edges and painting inside the colour before. And then yeah, just adding the brightest yellow just on the edge. But yeah, I like doing green eyes on the red model. I think it looks really cool. And also it is coming up to Yule, so it does suit the season as well. But yeah, just so you can see his eyes on the Lord as well. Okay, just going to be adding the blood for the blood god to his sword, and also to the Juggernaut, just on his front horn and in his teeth. Yeah, I think it's a really cool effect. It definitely suits these models. And just be going back over the skulls, just bringing out the raised pieces and just adding some texture back in. Just an extra little bit of interest. But yeah, just double checking the model and making sure I'm happy. Seeing if I've missed anything or I need to add anything or take something away, cover up a mistake.
Like, comment, subscribe, share.